Welcome back to the show, everyone. Our next guest says that he's trying to retire. I call BS on that. He has so much to talk about right now, so much going on, and for great reason.
Absolutely.
A life's work.
First of all, we've got the book, The Legacy. It is also the 20th anniversary of the David Suzuki Foundation. A fantastic new film is opening on October the 15th called Force of Nature, the David Suzuki movie. And there's a couple other things going on I'm sure we'll get to.
Nature things, 50th
How's
season.
the retirement going?
Well, I finally, my wife said, look, Suzuki, you're never going to retire. So why don't you at least, our foundation works a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
And she said, why don't you try working a 4-day work week? And I went, whoa, you mean I'd have 3 days a week off?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's
You
a
can
good
save
start.
the world 4 days a week.
We're going to talk about legacy a lot today, but the 20th anniversary of the David Suzuki Foundation, the work that goes on there every single day, the awareness that you're raising, how proud are you of this foundation?
Well, this is my great legacy after my children, and I'm working now as hard as I can because I'm in what I call the death zone. When you're over 70, you've got a few years left, and you damn well better get your life in order. And one of the things I want to do is to make sure the foundation is going to be there, because I'm convinced the need for the foundation is going to be greater and greater with time.
Right.
And the amazing thing is, when we started in 1990, the World Watch Institute in the United States had said, look, we've only got 10 years. They called it the turnaround decade. So we said, okay, we're going to set up a foundation. We're only going to be here for 10 years. Every dollar we raise, we're going to spend it. Who ever imagined 20 years later we'd still be here?
Still be having
same problems, only worse.
I was going to say the same conversation on and on.
Maybe you could say we're just a failure, that look at things are worse. But,
No, we're looking on the positive now. That's what we're doing. Right. And Margaret Atwood wrote a great foreword in your book called The Legacy.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, very lovely. And she said, you spent a few years being Mr. Doom and Gloom, but you're looking at the positive now. Why do you think looking at the positive on our future is important rather than focusing? It's really easy to focus on the negative because we've done so much damage. But
fear is very good to get people's attention. But the problem, you can't live constantly being afraid.
Yeah.
But if you have hope and you have something that's uplifting to look forward to, that can really keep you going. So I realize that sometimes you have to tell the truth and get people afraid. But what's going to drive them on and carry them on is hope. And there's lots of hope. The thing is that environmentalists have got to really talk about the benefits of living more lightly on the earth. I think most people feel under a lot of pressure, just so many things that are demanding our time, and we'd much rather have more time to spend with our children and do things. That's the way we're going to have to live. Much more lightly, but doing things together. My big hero is my dad. And when he was 85, he was dying. He wasn't afraid. He knew he was dying. And I moved in to live with him the last week of his life. And he never had a nickel. Like, he was not a rich man. He kept saying, David, I'm going to die a very rich guy. Oh. And all we talked about was people, relatives, friends, family, and
things. You don't talk about things.
Never talked about my closet full of fancy clothes and my big car.
No.
And we've somehow got off on a track where we think having more stuff is what makes us happy. And it's not true.
Well, there's this great section. I mean, there's so many great sections. This is based on a lecture that you gave, trying to summarize everything that you've learned, you're thinking now, after a lifetime of being involved in these. And you're talking about post-war and getting the American economy back on track, and how this was based upon changing people's idea of value. What's valuable in your life?
Right.
And it's worked incredibly well.
It has, and what pulled us out of the Depression was the war, World War II. And the American economy was booming, but then the American president realized, oh my God, we're gonna win this war. What do you do in peacetime?
Yeah, how do we keep
pumping out planes and guns? And so he set up the Council of Economic Advisors to the president, and their answer was consumption.
Yeah.
We've got to make consumption an American way of life. Get people to worship at the altar of consumption, buy stuff, use it up, throw it away, and buy more. And then the problem with that is, if you make a coat, and that's a really good coat, you only sell it once, and you're out of them, you saturate the
you wanna
market.
send
GDP is
10
done.
But if you have disposability bill, use it once and throw it away, or fashion, that it goes out of fashion, then the market works because you keep pumping out
And we
more
saw
and
this
more
again
stuff.
after 9/11 too. We must go out there and shop in order
Exactly.
to.
That was one of those crucial moments when Americans could have undergone a big shift.
Yeah, choice.
And yet when Mr. Bush came on with his first formal speech, it was, I want you to go out and shop. And that wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
He meant it, because 70% of the American economy is about stuff. And we're all caught up in that.
Yeah, well, and this is, there's an opportunity, as there always is when you understand the problem, to have a solution. And the solution is just to teach people to think a little bit differently. And it doesn't take much. Once you think about your family versus what you have,
Yes.
your whole schism changes.
Now, the problem is that we're all very busy and focused on earning enough to buy blah, blah, blah. And I find that when people have gone through university, they get a job, they buy a house, they have kids.
Get on the treadmill.
And then all these enviros come along and say, sorry, guys, you're going to have to change it. They get mad. And I understand that.
Yeah.
They don't want to change their way. They've invested a lot to get there. But when they have children,
Yeah.
they suddenly become vulnerable. So almost half of the books I've written have been for children, not because I think we can wait till they grow up and replace us, but because children can say, Mom, Dad, I'm worried.
They're very convincing.
And parents love their kids. They've got to go out and become eco-warriors on their behalf.
They do.
So,
Let's talk about the movie a little bit. 'Cause of course, the book, the lecture, and the movie, you put this in the hands of Sturla Gunnarsson, who's
Right.
a fantastic filmmaker. And what do you hope people get out of watching this and learning more about you and your speech?
well, the film was an opportunity for me to summarize a lot of stuff I've been thinking about, and that's basically, the book is based on that lecture that I gave. What Sturla did that, my hat's off to him, was to use that speech as simply the spine on which he could hang a number of things. And he said, the thing that impressed me about you, me, my life, was that you have lived through a number of important events, like World War II and the atomic bomb, and then working at Oak Ridge, where they made the uranium for the bomb, and genetic engineering. And so he wanted to use my life to tie together some of these important events.
What's it like to watch that, sitting back,
Well, the first
being
time,
you?
the first time I saw it, I was just sitting there like terrified.
Yeah.
And it was so emotional for me that I just, as soon as it was over, I rushed out. I didn't even want to talk about
Right.
it. But then the second time I saw it, which was the final version, I could now see it as a film. It's not me, it's what Sturla has done with my life. And I feel honored that he chose my life to hang together these important events. So I feel very impressed that he was able to take that life and make it interesting.
Well, and interesting, and to use it to illustrate these weird
points.
things that we've gone through in the last 100 years or so, or not that you're 100.
But he did.
Not yet, you will be.
I'm getting there. He did something that I hadn't really thought about. You see, all my life I've felt I was a loner. I wanted to write my last book called The Outsider because that's what I've always felt. And as I say, even when we were in the camps with all the other Japanese kids, almost all of them spoke Japanese, but I couldn't because my mom and dad were born and raised in Canada. Right. So the Japanese kids would beat me up because I couldn't speak Japanese. So I felt alienated from Japanese kids. White kids didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I felt an outsider. And Sturla said, I think your life has been spent trying to find your place. And Haida Gwaii has become your, and I'd never thought of it that way, but to have my family has been adopted by the Haida, but to have a daughter who married a Haida, I now have a Haida grandson.
You found your place.
And I feel, when I go back to Haida Gwaii, everybody I meet says, welcome home. And that came out of the film that I hadn't thought of it that way, but Sturla.
Really quick, we want to talk about the nature of things because the season premiere is September 23rd.
Season. Yes,
50th
isn't that
season.
amazing?
Opening up with one of my favorite creatures, the octopus.
Yes.
How incredible they are. And you never stop getting fascinated by our creatures like this one.
How can anyone not?
It's amazing.
How can you not be fascinated by that?
Yeah.
Well, and this is the entry point for a lot of people I know from multiple generations now. for really understanding how valuable, how important, how sacrosanct our environment is.
Yes,
These
absolutely.
things that live there, so mysterious, so beautiful. How much has this show opened your eyes as well? I mean, because you see these films and you see what people have captured.
The nature of things has kept my sense of wonder and awe.
Yeah.
Because it's allowed me to expand and see all of squid. If you see squid when they start going through these they're like neon signs going through these changes in color. And that's what just drives
the things that you cover. And this year you're doing octopus. I know you have one on neuroplasticity, which is the change of brain.
That can change itself. Yeah.
Oh,
Fantastic stuff. So many things to get through. Okay, first of all, this is the book. You should pick it up. It's absolutely amazing. Force of Nature, the film that we were talking about, will be opening October the 15th in theaters, October the 6th at VIF. And your daughter Severin has a film at VIF too. You won't want to miss.
Yeah, you can check that out. And David Suzuki's Legacy Tour is coming September 17th, Kitsilano Secondary School, September 18th, Southridge Junior School in Surrey, and of course The Nature of Things with David Suzuki season premieres September 23rd, 8 p.m. on CBC TV.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Love it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Vikram and Miru, co-owners of Vidges in Rangoli, will be here to talk about Vidges at Home, their new cookbook. It's beautiful. It's called Vidges at Home. Relax, honey. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much.
Still to come, preparing sockeye salmon with George Harris. Plus, fall and winter style with Orange by Angela Chen.